I am Nahid Kabbani, and this is the Lighthouse for today's viewers. Welcome to our show. Every time I see women lunching or group of women working hard, I really admire them. I love to watch women doing business because they are always serious and they do their job from their hearts because they want to improve to the whole world that they are capable and they are doing great in their field. Last week I went to luncheon, ladies' luncheon, and I met a great group of people, and I choose some of the friends over there to introduce her to you, my viewers, and to see what we have around us as kind of careers and as kind of business good for women too. So maybe you will benefit from knowing Miss Janice Jordan and what she is doing as networking business, and maybe you will copy the idea or will share the information and do something with her, or somehow you benefit. So let's introduce Miss Janice and let Serena do that.
Well, thank you so much, first of all, for being on our show. I'm so passionate about networking, so this is going to be exciting, but I have a couple questions.
Okay, because thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. So now my first question is, what exactly is networking? Is it just about meeting people, or what is it?
Networking is a way of building relationships. It's how business does business today. You really need networking as part of your life. It's a way we need to get back to basics. America has gotten to a place where we don't trust anybody anymore. We don't do business with people, with our neighbors, because of who they are. And it's got into a very competitive world. And people have learned that they need to trust one another. And in order to do so, you need to build relationships. It is more than just walking next door and buying something from somebody. You need to know who they are and what they have to offer. Networking is a way to get out and do word of mouth and introduce yourself and your business and your product and gain trust with other people.
Okay. So now, what is the first step to networking?
Networking, there's several first steps. Social networking is the norm. That's what everybody knows about Facebook, Twitter, things like that. So you get online and you meet people. Well, you need to get off the computer and go face to face, because you're not going to build a relationship with somebody on the computer. Mm-hmm. You need to get in front of people. So you have chambers of commerce, you have lunch and learns, you have successful thinkers, which is many different leads groups and social groups where you can get out and talk to other businesses. And you're talking to businesses who want to do business with other people. So it's a means of being out in front of the clients who want to do business with you. And you not necessarily, if you and I were at the same event, it's not necessarily important for you and I to know each other to do business with each other, but who I can show you to do business with, and who you know that would want to do business with me. So it's a case of referring other people and just making it a very trustworthy building relationship type functions.
Wow, I like that. Thank you. So now, just one more question from me. What exactly is it that you do in networking?
I teach people how to get the most out of networking so that you don't just go to an event and come home with 30 business cards and don't know what to do with it. Where you actually come home with clients, with relationships started. I teach you how to do an adaptable introduction. Some people call it a commercial or an elevator pitch, but I don't believe sales belongs in networking. I believe it's building relationships, and this is a means of introducing yourself to other people. And I show you the do's and the don'ts and the different ways that you can go out and ask for the referrals and ask for the business.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing what you do with us.
So basically, you are telling me that the person to person is much better than internet and things like this.
Most definitely. You need to get off the computer and go face to
I
face.
agree with you, because person to person you feel. You have feeling and you talk and discuss matters. I don't like those Facebook and things.
You have eye contact. You
Yes.
can't tell what somebody's
Yes.
thinking or seeing or doing on the computer.
Yes, and feeling too.
Right?
If you feel comfortable with the person, that means you like to do business with him or her.
You have to have that comfort level.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
very important to have a warm fuzzy.
Yes.
Because if you don't have the warm fuzzy,
And if you discuss matters, you find so many ways to deal with the business, different ways to be successful.
yes.
So it is really important.
And helping each other, helping your community, putting somebody else first, paying it forward is the way to grow. You get what you reap, you get back 5 times.
Yes.
And it's very, very important to do that.
So you do seminars, you do classes. What kind of training you?
I do workshops, and I go to businesses, corporations, and group functions and speak on the subject of networking.
Oh, that's wonderful. So if we need you, we'll call you, and
You bet.
okay, we'll benefit from your knowledge and experience.
Anytime I can help, I'll be glad to.
I'm glad that I met you. I'm glad that I brought the subject to my viewers, and hopefully they will benefit and they will be in touch with you if they need it. And I myself will be in touch with you.
Well, thank you.
And really, thank you for coming. And really, you give us, you added to our knowledge something new.
Thank you very much. I
You're
really
welcome.
appreciate being here.
You're welcome.
You're watching The Lighthouse for today's viewers, brought to you by oneworldforyou.org.
As we promised, our show will be like a community show. We try to help each other, introducing some topics and some ideas will benefit our viewers somehow and somewhat. And as we mentioned, that America built up from all over the world, like bouquet of flowers. Each flower will give us some kind of aroma, and also the herbs will help somehow to help us to heal. In my life, now I am in age, maybe I don't like it. I never been at this age before, but somehow we need help sometimes. One day my hand was numbness and it hurt me, and I got that treatment for a while. Then my son offered me to take me to his chiropractor to help me to heal because he experienced some kind of difficulty and pain in his neck, and this doctor or this chiropractor helped him to heal fast. So I went to that doctor and I really get that help, and I was satisfied and happy. And the main issue, I felt this doctor has a great hands, but a great heart also. His heart with people who are in need, or they cannot afford it, or whatever is, he offers his treatment no matter what. So in our studio today, in our show, we have Dr. John Lubecki, and I will welcome him. Then we will hear what he have to say. Welcome to our show, Dr.
Thank you.
Jean. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you.
So here we are, and we will let our viewers know about you a little bit and what you are doing, but also my lovely Serena will introduce you to the viewers.
And thank you again for coming here. It's really nice meeting you and speaking to you about this. So I have a couple questions to ask you in regards to just what you do. And I was interested if you've ever been interested in Chinese medicine.
Thank you for having me here. Yes, I have been very interested in Chinese medicine. I took courses in Chinese medicine in Chicago about 30 years ago. And to my surprise, I found that the Chinese had a totally different approach. In China, already thousands of years ago, the doctors were only paid as long as the patients were well. If a patient became sick, the doctors would have to treat him for nothing, you see, because it was considered to be the doctor's fault that the patient was sick. Wouldn't it be wonderful if that could be the case in our country? We would have no cancer, no heart trouble, no sickness, and the premiums, the insurance premiums would go down to 10% of what they are now, and we could literally save ourselves financially.
So why did the Chinese consider that it was the doctor's fault if a patient was sick?
Because they discovered that there is an energy flow in the body, and that if nothing is interfering with this energy flow, then it is impossible to be sick. Therefore, the Chinese already thousands of years ago went to the doctor not when they were sick already, but when they were still well. And it was his job to correct the interference before the patient was aware that he was sick. Therefore, if he failed to correct the interference in time and the patient became sick, it was considered to be the doctor's fault that the patient was sick. Therefore, he had to treat him for nothing.
So then why can't we do the same things here, the same way?
Well, for two reasons, I suppose. First of all, somehow Western medicine has not thought of doing this way, and they haven't shown any interest in Chinese medicine, or not enough interest. And secondly, we do not have a method of discovering what is causing interference. We have no satisfactory, easy method of doing so.
Okay. So then has anyone made an attempt to try to detect and measure the flow of energy in the body?
Yes, primarily the homeopaths in Germany who use electrodiagnosis, they did quite a lot of work on this. And then in other countries, doctors who use muscle testing, they have also made attempts at trying to find a way of discovering the energy flow interference. Before a patient was sick, and of course when the patient is sick also.
Okay. So then what are some of the factors that cause interference in the energy flow in our bodies?
I would say that the number one factor nowadays are chemicals and metals and so on, all the things which have been created by modern science. And secondly, infections.
Okay. So then how does one get rid of these harmful organisms? I thought there's nothing possible to get rid of these things.
Well, there are two things that we have found, or have been found, that will get rid of these things. First of all, there's a thing like this. There's a homeopathic imprinter, which will imprint, this is the input, that's the output plate. And if you place your finger here and you switch it on and activate it, it will imprint this finger on that finger. But the imprint is literally thousands of times stronger. Therefore, this imprinted energy travels through your body and will instantly kill all bacteria, all viruses, all parasites, and remove a lot of the chemicals. So in other words, this alone, if it was used properly and by the public and so on, we could avoid all infections. There'd be no amputations because of infections. There'd be no swine flu. There'd be no no viruses and so on.
So then if that imprinter is used correctly, then all these infections and parasites are impossible?
It is absolutely impossible, yes.
Okay.
I've had thousands of patients who have proved that this is true. I mean, we've had people with gangrenes and tremendous infections, I mean MS and so on. And the moment they used this, all that was eliminated and they got better.
So now, who discovered this?
It was first designed, I believe, and discovered in Germany primarily by the homeopaths.
Okay.
I remember that it was at one time called the Voll machine because a Dr. Voll, he was a very famous German homeopath, and he did a lot of the initial work and he made a lot of discoveries on this.
Okay, that's very interesting. So now what about heavy metals?
Oh, heavy metals play a very important part in causing chronic conditions like cancer and MS, MS too, but especially fibromyalgia and so on. And it's been discovered now that they can be neutralized by using a laser. See, if you laser the person, this will deactivate or remove the heavy metals, and then of course the harmful effects they cause are also removed.
Okay. Well, that's interesting as well. Are we ever likely to discover a quick and easy way of trying to check what is interfering with the energy flow in the body? Is that possible?
Initially, this was done with electrodiagnosis, but electrodiagnosis is slow and is cumbersome and it's not that easy to use, and it's possible to make mistakes. But now there's a much better way of doing it with a form of muscle testing, which will tell you instantly with absolutely 100% accuracy exactly what infection a person has, what parasites they have, what chemicals they have in their body, and exactly what is interfering with the energy flow in the body. Therefore, if this method became widely used, we could literally eliminate all our health problems. There's no reason why anybody should have either cancer or MS or fibromyalgia or any kind of infection or anything else.
So, how accurate really can these results be?
They are absolutely 100% accurate. This method of testing for energy flow interference is 100% accurate, not because of what the doctor does, but because you see you are actually asking the body, and the body simply never makes mistakes. The body is infinitely wise. It never ever makes mistakes. Therefore, if the body tells you that something is interfering with the energy flow, then that is 100% certain that is the case. Therefore, now that we have a way of literally asking the body what should be done, you can detect all interference with the greatest of ease.
Okay. So then, what types of problems are we looking for with this new method?
Well, we are looking for those problems which cause interference. Therefore, once again, chemicals and deficiencies and parasites and infections and scars have turned out to be an important cause of interference and so on.
Okay. So it's usually possible to discover everything that is causing certain symptoms with this?
It is possible not to, whereas in a sense that's true, but the main thing is if you can remove all the interference with energy flow, all the patient's symptoms will go away because the body can then function normally. If there's no interference, the body is then able to recover and bring itself back to normal.
Okay. So then, if what you're telling me is along the lines of this idea, now, before anyone gets sick, will this new method be able to tell us if we're going to get sick? Or?
Exactly. That is, of course, the main thing. If only possible, the best thing is to not wait till you're sick the way we do, but to start looking for interference before we are sick, like the Chinese did. Therefore, if our doctors were able to do this properly, then nobody would have to be sick because this method will tell you what's gone wrong and what is interfering instantly, literally the moment that interference starts. Therefore, if you understand how this works, there's absolutely no reason why anybody should be sick.
Okay. So now I have a really, really good question for you.
Okay.
A lot of people get headaches.
Okay.
So, for instance, with this new method, what are the causes of headaches?
Okay, this method has shown that all headaches are 99% of the time caused by either infections or deficiency of trace minerals, or by a deficiency of vitamin B1. If those three are not there, then headaches are almost impossible. There are other possibilities, like, for instance, literally exhaustion, brain exhaustion and so on. That can cause headaches, or due probably to extreme stress and so on.
Okay.
But I mean, headaches, if this is understood properly, it's virtually impossible to have a headache.
Okay, so then now we know about headaches. So then what about other conditions like joint pain?
Joint pain, this has shown that joint pains are caused primarily by a lack of trace minerals, manganese primarily, I would say, trace minerals, and vitamins in general. If there's no deficiency, joint pains are virtually impossible.
So now we have headaches.
Yes.
We have the joint pains.
Yes.
And now here's the other one. What about hemorrhoids?
Oh, hemorrhoids are always caused by just one thing, and that is by lack of rutin. You see, in the same way that bones are strengthened by calcium, everybody knows that. Well, the rutin and bioflavonoids strengthen the walls of the veins. Therefore, it is impossible to have hemorrhoids unless you are deficient in rutin and bioflavonoids. If you have enough rutin and bioflavonoids, the vessels are so strong the hemorrhoids cannot develop. So really speaking, hemorrhoids are one of the easiest things to cure.
Wow. So then let's get into the chronic conditions. Like we have fibromyalgia, multiple sclerosis, and arthritis, cancer, and all these other things. What about those?
All these conditions are caused by the body being sensitive and because they interfere with the normal function of the body so much that if they can be removed by using these tools here, and if proper care is taken and they can be removed from the body, then all these conditions rapidly disappear, especially if you can catch it in time. I would say that all these conditions are very easy to prevent or reverse in the early stages.
Okay.
Once they've got very advanced and very bad, then of course you've got so much damage done that then things become more difficult.
So now you're really going to think I'm picking on you because I have another question. So now these skin conditions like acne or boils, what about those types of conditions?
Yeah, this method shows that those conditions are always caused by the body becoming too polluted with toxins and waste and so on. So you see, once again, if you can cleanse the body sufficiently, all that disappears.
Okay. And what about asthma?
Well, asthma is very often caused, it's not really asthma, but it's a symptom of a chronic infection. Not always, but very often. Therefore, if the infection can be removed with this imprinter and so on, the asthma symptoms will stop, because they were really the symptoms not of something unknown, but they were simply the symptoms of a chronic infection and a chronic low-grade pneumonia.
Okay.
You see, which is very common and which is difficult to detect with ordinary methods that are used in modern medicine. But with this method, you can easily detect this, and therefore, the first thing you look for in a patient who has asthma is an infection, and they always have an infection.
Wow. So now I really got to ask all those different questions. Thank you so much for answering all those. Thank you.
So, what about the balance, what you do? The balanced body, what you do first?
Oh, you mean how do we detect the...
First thing in your clinic.
Yes.
When you
first
put me on that balance,
yes,
whatever.
You have to find
Explain
out,
it.
once again, what is causing the interference. And that can be quite easily done. You have the pictures. And that's explained in this book. In this book, Conquering Disease.
Give me those. Give me the other.
Okay. Thank you. This has a chapter which shows, it shows here how this can be done. You see, the body will react to anything that it needs. Therefore, if you hold the legs like that, they will always be uneven if you do it properly and you understand what you're doing.
You have two kind of balance, this one and the one you stand. When I stood,
Well,
and
no,
you
that one
balanced
was to do with your posture only. But this is the way that you can detect what is interfering with energy flow.
How many books you wrote
I've written 10 books, I think.
about major things you...
Well, as the years went by, you see, once I had taken this Chinese course, I became more and more aware that we are not doing things the way they should be done. Therefore, I tried to explain how they could be done so as to eliminate. So I wrote books like how to never have back trouble, how to never have allergies, how to never have CFS, and so on. Then better health through body balancing, etc. Lots how living without pain. Many books. Now you can be your own best doctor and so on. Because I think that the most important thing is not to go to the doctor and expect him to do everything, but to teach the public what they can do for themselves. You see, if a person doesn't do most of the stuff themselves, as you'll see from Susan when she talks, the doctor just can't catch up. There's too many things to do. The main thing is to educate the public and teach them what they can do for themselves. Then you see, we could eliminate almost everything.
Before we talk to Susan, what brought you to this kind of business?
Well, because I was sick. That's why I got into this business of trying to help people. And I had all kinds of problems. I mean, for a start, I had cancer myself. Then I had all kinds of headaches and backaches and other conditions and terribly high blood pressure. My blood pressure was 180 over 140, and my pulse was 110, which is bad news, and such things. And all this corrected it. So now I can honestly say I am never sick. I have not missed one day in the office for 30 years.
And
So you
still
study.
eats chocolate.
You study the medicine on your body. You tried everything on your body.
Yes, I had.
This is the best treatment,
Right.
best practice. I see the picture of the lady, I guess. This is Susan.
That's Susan.
So this book about Susan's
That's how
story?
she was a year ago. Now she's changed.
Okay.
She's lost.
Now,
40
can you
pounds.
explain to us in little words what was with Susan, and let Susan talk about her condition?
Well, once again, I didn't treat Susan for any particular problem, any specific problem. We simply detected what was interfering with the energy flow, and when that was removed, she improved rapidly, and she's been pretty well symptom-free at least, for now for a year and a half.
2 years.
Close to 2 years, yes.
Yes.
And
So what kind of symptoms she has?
Before that, she was supposed to die.
Yes.
So what about you,
she was
Susan? Can you
paralyzed?
introduce
Paralyzed?
yourself first?
The day before I met Dr. Lubecki, I met him through my girlfriend who comes from Walnut Creek, and she's been seeing him for 30 years for back problems. And she also had fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue syndrome, and just over the years, she's about 74, I believe, and she's just pretty much had a gamut of things. A high-stress job. She's a kindergarten teacher.
Oh, wow.
Dealing with those parents is
Yeah.
difficult.
Not with the kids, with the parents.
No, the parents.
Okay.
But anyway, I called her, and the day before, I had been paralyzed on half of my body, this side. I have brain tumors on this side. And anyway, you know, the big long name for the cancerous brain tumors. And after I was diagnosed, pretty much they gave me my walking papers. They said, get your affairs in order. And my doctor actually said, just go home and eat donuts. And because I asked him, I said, is there something I can be doing, something nutritionally I should be doing? And that's when he told me to go home and eat donuts. And he graduated from MD Anderson. But anyway, I spent about $100,000 on alternative therapy that didn't work. And so by the time I saw Dr. Lubecki, I was going from bed to chair, dizzy all the time, having seizures. And the day that I had the paralysis was the first day I actually experienced full body paralysis. And so my girlfriend zoomed up from Walnut Creek and she said, "You've got to meet Dr. Lubecki. You've got to see Dr. Lubecki." She wasn't quite sure what he could do for me, but she just thought, this is something, you know, rather than I just told her, I'm just going to stay in bed, you know. And so when I met Dr. Lubecki, I didn't even want to get off the couch in his office. I thought, a chiropractor, what in the world can a chiropractor do for me? You know, I'd seen doctors everywhere from Mexico to, you know, every kind of doctor. And Dr. Lubecki said, basically, you've got dis-ease. In other words, your body is not comfortable with itself. And that I had blockages in the energy flow. He never treated me for a chronic condition like cancer. What he did was he treated me so my body could learn how to take care of itself. So I have spent the last 2 years developing my own routine along with Dr. Lubecki's to keep myself well. And I do this every day. You have a question?
So basically, you treat yourself now.
Yes, I do.
Nobody treats
Yes,
you.
I do.
I told you what I thought should be done, and you treat yourself.
Well, Dr. Lubecki adjusted my head. He is a new chiropractor, and you know they just use the soft treatment on the neck. And so first he took X-rays and adjusted my spine, and then he taught me about the imprinter, and I started doing that, and I use it about 8 times a day. I also put my food, there's a little black box that also goes with the imprinter, and I put that under my food, and I've been doing that for 2 years. Then I use the laser, which is my life. I love the Q1000 laser, which Dr. Lubecki taught me how to use. And to get rid of the heavy metals, he has a wonderful machine in his office, a giant laser that you go under, and it clears in about 3 minutes a lifetime of buildup of heavy metals in the body, like cadmium, mercury, all that type of thing. And so I wrote this book, and Dr. Lubecki put some chapters in it. But what I wrote it for was, it's called Conquering Disease, Start the Healing Process Now, a step-by-step guide to wellness. And I also put on here a saying that I saw in Dr. Lubecki's office where I did the foot baths. It's called, Healing from a Chronic Disease Takes Work, Patience, and Complete Focus Every Day. And from all the hundreds of patients that I've seen well coming out of Dr. Lubecki's office from every kind of thing you can imagine.
Yeah.
But only because the body has to learn how to heal itself. And it's
the patient
mind,
has to learn
body,
what to do.
Spirit. Yes, the patient has to learn what to do. I have a daily routine. Can I just run over it briefly?
Sure.
I get up in the morning, and first off, upon arising, I do the imprinter. And then I do a coffee enema, which Charlotte Gerson taught me how to do. And it's a wonderful, again, just purification of the body, especially the liver. And then I do wheatgrass and lemon juice. And then I do a quark that's cottage cheese and flaxseed oil that Joanna Budwick was up 7 times for the Nobel Peace Prize for a certain formula that she did that I learned from Bill Henderson, who's a good friend. Also, then I do a tea that I learned at another clinic that has Pau d'Arco in it and red clover, similar to the Jason Winters formula or the Essiac tea that a lot of people know about. And then I drink lots and lots and lots of water. I do drops of zeolite, which captures a lot of stuff that you're eating during the day when you can't get to the laser or you can't get to other things. And then I just go through a series of, I do fresh juices. I'm 80% raw foods, 20% cooked vegetables, whole grains, brown rice, quinoa. And of course, I go into Dr. Lubecki's and do an ionic foot bath with rattlers that go on your body, and they actually put an electrical charge through your body that makes the ionic foot bath a lot more productive. I do a far infrared sauna a couple times a week. I do lymphatic massage, but the Q1000 laser also, helps with lymphatic drainage, helps with blood circulation. It's just a wonderful tool. And anyway, I also have acupuncture. I oil my scars daily, which Dr. Lubecki will probably talk about in a little while. That's very, very important to oil your scars. I had my upper lobe of my lung removed about 12 years ago, and I suffered terribly with pain from the adhesions that go around the. And anyway, I used to actually, after work, put my arm in a sling at night. And after using all of the methods from Dr. Lubecki, I don't have to use that. I have perfect mobility in my arm, and I have no pain whatsoever.
Wow. What about the tumor?
The tumor is dead.
Gone?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes.
That's wonderful.
I'm working on breaking down the actual tumor, but the tumor is officially dead.
Wow. That's
So
wonderful.
I have no, it doesn't light up at all.
I'm so happy to hear
I have none
that.
of the symptoms.
That's wonderful.
I have, I have a wonderful story that, I got my life back.
That's wonderful. That's great to hear that. Really, somebody helped you to heal that much.
Dr. Lubecki has helped so many people. It's just, he's one of those people, he'll work Saturday, Sunday. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If somebody
Yeah, I
calls
know him.
in,
I
or
know
you
him.
know,
Yes,
you
I
know
know
what
him.
he does.
I thank you very much for coming and
Well,
talking
thank
about
you.
this subject.
Thank you.
And really, I appreciate what Dr. Lubecki does to you.
Oh,
and
he's done everything
we'll
for me.
be back soon.
oneworldforyou.org, promoting cultural understanding through the media.
Before the break, we were listening to a quiet story. Really, it's a great experience with Jane and her sickness, and what is the treatment what she got, and how Dr. Lubecki actually taught her how to treat herself. It was quite a new experience to me, at least. And that's why I heard a lot of stories in the clinic also, and I saw so many patients come to the clinic with great sickness and disease, and everybody came from all over around the area, not just from Sacramento. Everybody talk about the experience, what we got, what he or she got as a treatment. So that's why we brought the subject to you as viewers. So we'll go again to Dr. Lubecki and ask him about what kind of different stories he have to tell us about. So Dr. Lubecki, what do you have to tell us today?
Well, we approach all the patients in the same way. We check them to find out what is interfering with the energy flow and what is causing their symptoms. And if you can improve the energy flow in the body, as explained in the first half, then their symptoms will go away if they are sincere about it, and if they understand what they're doing, and if they... so in other words, we spend most of our time not treating the patient, but telling him what he should do himself.
Okay, so we heard from Jane. I guess you have another story, another patient to tell us about her
Well,
disease or sickness
Yes,
before.
Joan's been kind enough to come here, and she volunteered to tell her story.
Now,
What she has.
I have a question for Joan. Joan, I want you to tell me what you were feeling and what happened after you were going through different things, and tell us about what you found out that you have.
I have multiple sclerosis, and it started, I found out I had it when I was 22, but that wasn't until I was about 55 that I realized I'd had it all those years. And I had real extreme exhaustion, and I'd be playing with my kids and I'd get so sleepy I couldn't stay awake, and I'd have to put them in their playpen and fall asleep for 15 or 20 minutes. I'd wake up and I'd be fine. And I've always exercised and found that no matter what I did, I couldn't go to the next level. And that's 5 days a week in a gym and being called a wimp by my brother, but I still couldn't do it. And when I was about 55, it totally went out of control. And I started after I was told that the doctors could do nothing to help me, I started some alternative health care. And then about 4 years ago, I decided as I was getting older that things weren't going as well as I felt they should be, and I started looking for some other alternative health care. And I happened to, by very accident, pick my granddaughter up at a party one day, and I was sitting waiting for her because teenagers are never on time. And this woman next to me says, "Oh, I'm going to go to my holistic chiropractor next." And I says, "Oh, you have a holistic chiropractor. What's his name?" Yeah. She told me, Dr. Lubecki, and I said, "Have you used him long?" She says, "For years, and he's wonderful." Mm-hmm. And I said, "Thank you, may I have his name?" And she gave me his name, and I phoned and made an appointment the next day. And when I was going to see him, I was losing my eyesight. With or without glasses, it made no difference. And I had told my husband, we just bought myself another car, and I said, "You know, David, I'm not going to be driving this car anymore because I don't feel safe. But I will go today, and then after that, my car's going away." And I went to see Dr. Lubecki. I was there about 5 hours the first time. Wow. And he used all sorts of different techniques to tell me what was wrong, whether I had too much metal or whatever was going on. And he used the Q1 on me. And I'll be honest and said I didn't think any of it was going to really work, but you get to the point where you have to try. And by the time I left his office, I had this whole bag of vitamins and trace minerals and all sorts of things that I was to take. And I got in my car to drive home, and I could actually see.
Wow.
Whoa. I could actually see. And I thought, oh, this is just mind over matter here, right? Tomorrow it'll all be gone, and the world will go back to the normal. And the next morning, I could still see better than I could. But by about the second or third day, I noticed that it was getting worse again. So I went back to him again, and because he wanted to see me on a regular basis at first, and I said, okay. So I went back, and he used the laser light again, and I left to drive home, and I could see again. Wow. And I'm thinking, oh, this is really, there's more to this than meets the eye. I'm not crazy. So I decided that I would buy the machine, and I bought it, and I use it over my whole body. I'm not nearly as good as Susan is. I use it regularly for a while, and then I get too involved with family and other things and kind of back off a little. And I do notice that when I do back off, that one of the first things to leave is the sight.
So you notice the difference before and after?
I notice the difference. If I do not use it on a regular basis, and that's pretty much every day, for about 20 minutes, after about 10 days to 2 weeks, the vision is much worse again, and I'm seeing 2 and 3 of lights and so forth. So it's a huge difference.
Wow.
Huge difference. Exhaustion with my type of MS is extremely prevalent. I've had a great deal of problems with it for 15 years until I started seeing Dr. Lubecki. The exhaustion is now totally under control by the things that he has me do. And it basically, with me, it's the foot bath. I use the laser, all 3 different wands, the 2 wands and the other laser, and all of the different minerals, vitamins, and herbs that he has me take. And if I do those all, I do great. When I slough off, that's okay. I go back. Doesn't take me too long.
I have a question about the exercising part. Do you feel a difference in your exercise?
Oh, yes. For a period of time, I could barely walk. The only way I could walk would be to have my husband take me. And he would walk with me, and then when I fell, he'd pick me up, and I'd keep walking. I wouldn't stop. I didn't care how many times I fell when it first started, because I felt the only chance I ever had was to keep walking. Because with multiple sclerosis, the one thing that your nerves want to do is tell you to atrophy. So if you don't keep using them, if you don't keep trying, you're not going to have anything.
Yeah.
So I walked, and my husband walked with me, and he did that for about 6 years. And after I started seeing Dr. Lubecki regularly, I was able to go back to exercising. And I'll be honest and tell you that the reason why I could go back to exercising is because my body is more in balance. And the reason why I know that is because I always exercised prior to the MS, and I do perspire very greatly. I am not a woman in that instance. And when my MS went out of control totally, I totally quit. No matter how hot it was outside, no matter what happened, the hotter it was outside, the hotter I got, the higher my internal temperature went, the weaker I got, and the less cognizant I had, and it would get to where I couldn't move. Once I started seeing Dr. Lubecki and things got more, my body kind of liked itself again, I now perspire. So I can go to the gym, I can swim again for an hour a day, I can walk, and I can lift weights.
Wow.
That I couldn't do before, and I don't have tree stumps for legs because I'm exercising.
Wow. Well, I'm so happy for you. That's fantastic. That's fantastic.
So basically, your body, Dr. Lubecki helped your body to go back to normal.
He helped it to
Act
go
your
back
body
to,
from
yes, he
inside.
helped my body to decide it liked me instead of wanting to work against me all the time. And I think that's the layman's way of saying it. I'm very simple with it. I do what he says, I tell him what's going on, I listen to him, and it's my responsibility that I do as much as what he wants.
No,
and when I
that's
don't, yeah, it's our choices. And as I go through it and I don't do what I'm supposed to be doing, and family takes over and everything else takes over, I know that it's happened. And you cut back, and then you go back on track, and you make sure you do everything you're supposed to do, and guess what? It works. So I'm a good one to say, yeah, I know it works, because I don't always do what I'm supposed to do.
So you learned
I know.
how
yes.
to use it now.
I know how to use it. I know what I'm supposed to be doing. That doesn't mean that it always happens.
You learn the hard way.
I learned the hard way.
So up to you now.
Yeah, it's
in your
totally
hand.
up to me. But there's a huge difference in how I feel and my capabilities. And my family still, it's very hard when you have someone who has an illness or a disease. Nobody walks in your shoes and nobody handles it exactly the same. And the hardest thing for my family is, for so long I would say, I can't do this, I can't walk, to walk from here to the corner was an hour's worth of effort for me. And now I'm doing everything that I always did, and they always look at me and say, you're doing too much, you're too tired, you're going to get too tired. Well, if you listen to your body, if you listen to what doctor says, and then you listen to your own body, you can tell when you've done enough and when you have to slow down. But without taking and doing as he says, I would not be able to have the choice.
He direct your...
That's correct. I would not have the
your
choice.
act and your body.
Yes. I would be on the couch. I would not be here tonight, and I would not be doing what I do if I didn't listen and do what he says also.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. What is the secret with the foot bath? It has
The foot bath
brown...
is excellent way of
what is in it?
detoxing the body.
Oh,
It's basically an oxygen bath. See, it generates oxygen, and the oxygen then gets into your body, and it burns things up, and they come out.
because it look ugly. The
Oh, it's
water.
ugly. It's the ugliest thing I have. My family, when I use my foot bath, oh, they just have a fit. It's this bubbly copper color, you know, as the years have
And
gone
leaves
by.
and things, I don't know.
As the years have gone by, it's gotten lighter. It doesn't look as dark now as it
Yeah.
did the first times I did it.
Yeah, but it does a lot to the body.
Oh, it must. I think if
So
this is all coming
what
out of
it
my
does,
body, what is it?
Toxin?
It detoxifies.
It detoxifies.
So then the color of the water changes depending on the toxins that come out of your body?
Oh, maybe to some degree, but unfortunately the color of water is affected by the electrodes which oxidize also.
Okay.
So some of the color is caused by the metal which oxidizes. So it's not entirely from the body. But nevertheless, it's the best way of detoxing the body I know of right now.
When I have been in the office and was detoxed, I noticed that sometimes the water's green with some people and a reddish copper color with others. What does that signify? Anything?
I really don't know.
Okay.
I don't think it's a definite thing.
It's just, but I've noticed that different people have different color water, and it's like,
Yes.
Isn't that amazing?
it is. It's
Wow.
absolutely amazing.
So, as a conclusion, what your suggestion, or what's your opinion for our viewers if they feel what they should see somebody?
My hope is that people become interested in this approach and they begin to learn. That's why the books, you see. I hope that people start reading those
Your
books.
books are available?
Especially, yes.
Okay.
Especially this book. This book has everything in it.
I know you have a lot.
Yes.
So
And
our
I
viewers
hope
will
they
see it later.
yes, I hope they start learning themselves what to do. Unless they learn what to do, what they can do for themselves, all this won't work. If they try to depend on only a doctor, the doctor just doesn't have time. He cannot possibly help them fully. He may help them temporarily or may improve their symptoms, but in the long run, the results are hopelessly bad. They have to be, unless you do things yourself. If you don't understand if Joan didn't do most of the stuff herself, and if Susan didn't know what to do, they wouldn't have got well.
Well, the doctor said there was nothing he could do to help me. It was my call. I could just go home and do whatever I could do because of the type of MS I have. For Susan,
MS
it was
is not easy to heal.
no, and for Susan, it was there is nothing. I mean, your tumors are there, and we can't get rid of them. So go home and do whatever you want. You're on your own.
I know a young lady. She has 5 surgeries and still they don't know exactly why the MS coming. I don't know. When I talked to Dr. Lubecki, he says she doesn't need surgery to begin with.
No, I totally,
But basically, you don't give medicine. You give the body treatment or bring it back to normal to help the body heal.
In Chinese medicine, they give no medicines. They just told the patient what he should do, and then use herbs and such things, diets, etc., exercise, to keep the body functioning properly. And then especially important was removing the energy flow interference, you see. For instance, it's now known that scars cause tremendous interference. So treating the scars is essential. Then allergies. One of the books I wrote was How to Never Have Allergies. I mean, that is also, Joan, you know about that.
Oh, yes. My son had asthma as a child growing up, and when he was 16, I took him to a chiropractor, and he never had another serious asthma attack.
And doctors know those secrets, and pharmaceutists will love you if they don't sell medicine.
Actually, if you pick your doctor, I have a doctor who has some patients call me. His new MS patients will call and ask me to talk to him and tell me what I do. But I have an exceptional doctor, but he is an MD, and I see him, like you're supposed to. But he doesn't treat me for my MS, and he'll talk to me about it and ask me what I'm doing. Right, and I did. Oh, by the way, I did go see and had my second MRI after about 11 or 12 years of being diagnosed. I decided it was time. And my MRI had actually improved, which is very, very, very rare.
That's what
yeah,
it's
and this
still
was
rare.
this was after a year and a half of being with Dr. Lubecki.
The MS is still not unknown.
There's a lot unknown about MS.
Yeah,
a great deal. There are lots of medications you can take, and they're all very similar to chemo drugs. Many side effects.
Yeah, because it's the symptom itself similar to some kind of diseases.
That's correct.
So they don't know it until it becomes too critical.
And if it was me and anyone who has MS, as far as I'm concerned, they should go and see Dr. Lubecki. And when I tell people that I have spent a little bit of money, I find it interesting. Everyone seems to be a little afraid of, oh my gosh, I'm spending all this money. Well, if you don't take care of your own health, who's going to take care of it?
Yes, and your health is the
That's
basic.
all we have.
Without health, nobody will live happily.
That is correct. But
So actually, we made it okay, and you are here, and thank you for coming, Dr. Lubecki, and thank you for the information what you gave us
I hope
for
this helps
viewers,
people.
and hopefully we'll have some information for our viewers if they like to see you And hopefully they will benefit from what they heard from you as an experienced person, and Jane also. So I would like to thank you for coming.
Yes, and thank you for answering my questions, and thank you so much for sharing your story with us.
Thank you, and thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
Thank you for coming, Jen.
Thanks.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.